The Baltimore Ravens are picking 27th in the upcoming 2025 NFL Draft, and Ryan and I we are going to be breaking down the first 3 rounds in our first mock draft of the 2025 NFL off season for the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to break it down here in a second, but before we do that, be sure to subscribe to the Tracy Take. Tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out, and while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you want to see the Ravens do with their first 3 picks in the upcoming draft. And Ryan, let's pull this up here. Uh, to me, and especially too with the rise of some of these guys as well, especially through the Senior Bowl, it just feels like this is going to be the spot where some of these interior offensive linemen are going to start to come off. And full transparency, we did finish this mock because we had to get everything prepared during this time, but like right before and kind of during the beginning of the Senior Bowl. So I think a couple names here that we'll talk about, like we'll talk about here in a moment, but a lot more guys, especially interior offensive linemen, worked their way up. Tyler Booker is who we ended up selecting here for this mock draft. I think a guy like Donovan Jackson, he's worked his way up. A guy like Ray Zabel definitely worked his way up. I think Wyatt Milam, who you see there, was taking a couple picks before. I think maybe he could be a first rounder, but I think he just kind of fell behind with his draft stock wise. And so, like, if the Ravens would want a guy like him, he might be in the potential second round conversation. But Ravens need a decent bit of help here. I think from their role players to keep on improving. And so if they want to maybe not go into your offensive lineman here, what other positions do you think they can target with their first round pick?
Yeah, I mean, they could go wide receiver, they could go corner. Like if it's not interior offensive line, it could be tackle. I think they could get another edge rusher too to add into that group. If there's a linebacker that really suits their fancy at this point, like a Jahad Campbell, I think that could be another option as well. Like they could really go in a lot of different ways and kind of go best player available. But maybe it's best player available that fills an immediate need. And honestly, I think if you look at what they've done this year with Derrick Henry, he is back for one more year, I believe. And they get Tyler Booker. Patrick McCarry is most likely going to leave in free agency. Ronnie Stanley, I think, is a little bit more up in the air. I think he'll stay. They could also tag him. I think he would be worth a tag and maybe another year or two extension from there. But all in all, I think that it would be really interesting for them to go and get a physical, like powerful guard like Tyler Booker, who needs some work in pass protection, but it can just really get downhill and really punish some people in the running game.
Yeah, yeah. I, I think just getting just more athletic offensive linemen or just more athletic players as well. It's weird saying that for the Ravens, just because I mean you have Lamar Jackson, you're going to have Zay Flowers, you got Derrick Henry as a likely, but it's I feel like they're still just obviously missing something there. It's not nearly as bad as Miami, where they're like a one-trick pony because Lamar Jackson's
Yeah.
developed so much as a passer. I think this was probably his best season as a quarterback that we've seen in an extremely long time. It's a quarterback, like overarching quarterback. Like there's a perfect balance between the legs and throwing. And so I think he needs some more balance and some more athletic guys around him to help kind of take him over to take them over the by I guess the Patrick Mahomes barrier that that's stopping them. And so I think a guy that could help them out with that is going to be the next pick here, Matthew Golden. We had him selected going in the late second round. He's been a guy that's been working his way up draft boards as well. And potentially you can maybe even invert these 2 picks from Tyler Booker, maybe going
Yeah.
59, Matthew Golden going 27 with their first overall pick. But he's a guy, he's that kind of guy who I think is super athletic, but also just the super consistent guy. I think that Lamar Jackson can rely on. Obviously, Zay Flowers is going to be the number one guy. And I still feel there's some things left to be desired from Rashad Bateman and like the rest of the receiving room. The tight end room is really good in Baltimore. I know Mark Andrews is getting a lot of hate as of right now, but let's be honest, he's still one of the best tight ends in the league. And Isaiah
Yeah.
Likely is an amazing compliment to that as well. I think Matthew Golden can come in and just be that kind of zen balance between the freakish athleticism of Zay Flowers, the unique speed and height with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. I think he could be like that good traditional receiver that almost had like that Brandon Ayuk, on how he's utilized to in San Francisco compared to all the freakishly great athletes that they have over there.
Yeah, and he is kind of that in between Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. He could be moved all around the formation. And one of the things that I really liked about Matthew Golden was just as the moment got bigger at Texas, he got better. And I think that is just going to be a really critical skill set, kind of having coming into the next level, where you're going to come into a contender right away in the Baltimore Ravens, and they have high expectations, and they haven't been able to get over the hump, and they're drafting a receiver here to help them get over that hump and get back to a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. So I think with all that said, I think he's a really good fit. They could go other routes here, but honestly, I think whether they go Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, Jalen Royals, I really like wide receiver in this spot. I think this is a really good sweet spot for wide receiver. But they could go like a Darian Porter, who's a really athletic but inexperienced corner, Zy Alexander, who's a more experienced corner but not as great of an athlete, or maybe get a complimentary back to Derrick Henry and like a Quinshon Judkins to allow Derrick Henry not to maybe have to take as many punishing carries.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be very unique on just the route that they end up going, like in the priority within their picks. Because I think they're going to hit all these positions. It's just going to depend on what order. And so wrapping things
Yeah.
up here, we ended up going with Sebastian Castro, safety out of Iowa. And kind of looking back at this pick, it's nothing against Sebastian Castro, but our Darius Washington, when he came in and started to play a lot more, really helped out this Baltimore Ravens secondary and from their early woes on in the season. The passing defense definitely helped out a lot. And I think Sebastian Castro, I think he's going to provide good depth. I think for this team, Kyle Hamilton's one of the best safeties in the league, and how you can utilize him and move him around. He's a great guy to cover elite tight ends as well. So I think Sebastian Castro, and I'm talking about Kyle Hamilton there. Sebastian Castro, I think, is going to provide
Yeah.
some good depth, and I think could maybe provide some similar capabilities just to help out in that secondary to help just improve this pass the passing game in any way possible here. And so one of the
Yeah.
few disadvantages I think of this draft is just going to be the overall secondary talent. There's some good guys in there, but it's not nearly as deep as the
Mhm.
defensive line or the running back class or the tight end class, for example.
Yeah, and that is like last year was a pretty good secondary class, and there were a lot of guys that went in day 3 or 4 or 5, or in rounds 3, 4, or 5 that the Chargers like were able to take advantage of, for example. And so I think Sebastian Castro, he's definitely going to do his best work in the slot. I think that will free up Kyle Hamilton to maybe move around the formation a little bit more and kind of play see ball, get ball out of like a hybrid safety linebacker spot, or he can just drop back and be like a true free or strong safety, like he wants to be. And so I think this gives them a lot of versatility and a lot of good looks here
Hmm.
on that defensive side of the ball. But all in all, like this is just a really good draft, I think, for these teams that are already really established. There's not a ton of star players in this draft, and so if you're the Ravens, I would be trying to make as a lot of selections just to build my supporting cast. Maybe like not that you don't want to try to take big swings, but if you can go and get a guy that you know is going to fill a role for you and be like a day one contributor, I would take that chance over a developmental prospect for the Ravens any day, just because they have a lot of guys that are going to be that they have a lot of stars already. And so if they can go get guys that can make the plays and do some of the dirty work to allow those stars to really, really shine, I think that's going to be the route to go.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the Ravens are not too far away. They just got to just find like that final missing piece, and
Yeah.
so well to see. I think this is going to be the draft that can help them build that Super Bowl roster.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Ravens 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.